I'm trying a new video series called Culprit Swap, where I go through the Nancy Drew games and ask, what if the game had a different culprit? I wish Secrets Can Kill had a different culprit. I don't like the culprit in either version of the game very much. In the original, the culprit is some random guy named Mitch who doesn't get mentioned until the very end. That was a disappointment. It would have been so much more satisfying if the culprit had been one of the four suspects. If Mitch isn't the culprit, the blackmail tapes have to change. Instead of Daryl committing crimes for Mitch, they could show Daryl stealing from the cash register at Maxine's. The minor change of making Daryl a thief is all you need to do in order to eliminate Mitch from the story. Let's start with the Hulk. I think he's the one who's most likely to be the culprit. He's scary. He could totally beat me up in real life. Also, the culprit confrontation takes place at the pharmacy, and Hulk is the only one who's actually been to the pharmacy before. Let's say the big finale is when Nancy sees Hulk breaking into the pharmacy again. There's a puzzle of chasing him through the building and catching up to him before he escapes with more steroids. Another possibility I thought of is that Nancy could explore the gym after Hulk leaves for practice. She breaks into Hulk's locker and finds a jersey with bloodstains. When confronted, Hulk says it was from the game where he got injured, but Nancy's not so sure. Nancy says she wants to give the jersey to the police so they can test it. Hulk refuses, and the argument escalates to the point where Hulk flies into a roid rage and admits that he killed Jake. He tries to kill Nancy too. The final puzzle could be fighting him off. Only Nancy using real weapons is too violent for the series, so she'd probably throw different types of balls at Hulk. First a basketball, then a volleyball, then a football. Unlike Hulk, Hal Tanaka doesn't seem like the type to commit a crime of passion. No, Hal would probably think ahead and plan the crime in advance. The security report says Hal was escorted in and out of the building on the night of the murder. Hal did that on purpose to give himself an alibi. I couldn't have killed Jake. I left the building long before then. I have a security guard who can back me up. The security guard saw Jake and Hulk arguing shortly before the murder. That must have been Hal's attempt to frame Hulk. Hal probably lured them both there using notes like, meet me outside the gym at 8. He probably added something inflammatory to the notes just to make sure Jake and Hulk would fight and draw attention to themselves. The culprit uses a note that says, I have the solution to your mystery, in order to lure Nancy into a death trap. The timing of this death trap is interesting. It always happens after Nancy finds the plagiarized essay. That makes sense if Hal is the culprit. He knows Nancy's onto him. That's why he sets up a death trap for her. When Nancy finds Hal's essay in the teacher's lounge, there's a note that says to submit it to the PDM Scholarship Foundation. I bet that's the incident which caused Hal to resort to murder. He became far more desperate to get the library book back from Jake once he learned his essay was going to be made public. This would probably play into the culprit capture. Hal knows his future of getting a scholarship is still at risk as long as somebody else has the book. And maybe he tried breaking into Jake's locker to get the book already. Maybe that's why the police sealed it off. Hal can't let it drop, so he makes another attempt at stealing the book. Let's say this happens at the library. Nancy's there to find the hidden camera that Jake set up. Or maybe it's the remastered version where she checks underneath Jake's chair. While she's distracted, Hal tries to push Nancy, grab her bag, and run away. But it doesn't work. She sees his reflection in the camera lens and knows to turn around in time. Hal threatens to push Nancy off the railing if she doesn't give him the book. Maybe this could be a violent ending, like the Haunted Carousel, where she throws the book at the culprit's head. Or she could throw it down to the first floor. We hear a voice say, Nancy, that's no way to treat a library book. Nancy responds with, Aunt Eloise, you're just in time to help me capture the murderer. His lesson on proper behavior is extremely overdue. If Connie was the culprit, I'm not sure what would make her decide to commit murder. Connie is clearly mad that she was forced to take Jake as her date to the Sadie Hawkins dance, but that appears to have happened a few weeks ago. Maybe the fight flared up again when he said she had to take him to prom, too. Or maybe she got accepted into college, and it became that much more important to make sure Jake couldn't cause her money to disappear. Or maybe The blackmail stuff is totally irrelevant. Maybe she realized Jake is the one setting off the soda machine alarm all the time, and she got so mad she killed him. Whatever the motive is, things would basically be the same if Connie was the culprit. Things would also be similar whether or not she knew Jake was blackmailing other people. Just to make things interesting, let's say Connie is the only one who denies the blackmail tape is real. She says Nancy's wrong. She's not the winner of the judo tournament. Maybe Connie could say, "You misunderstood what you saw. That was a film project that Jake forced me to do." I noticed the blackmail tape is inside the vent system in the original, but the remake puts it next to the vent. So the original Jake made an attempt to hide the blackmail tape, and it's actually kind of surprising that none of his blackmail victims tried to find the incriminating tape after he died. Culprit Connie demands to see the tape for herself, so Nancy and Connie go to Aunt Eloise's house for the end of the game. Although it would be cool if the culprit confrontation took place at the judo school. Connie grabs the tape and breaks it. She says Nancy has no proof of anything anymore. And then, let's say we have the end of game puzzle from the remastered version. Why not? Nancy tells Connie there's a backup tape in Aunt Eloise's safe, only it's a trick, so Connie will be caught by the security system. I really don't know how else Nancy could have a culprit fight with Connie. Just like Hulk, Connie would easily beat Nancy in a fair fight. Nancy has to use some sort of trickery here. Let's finish with Daryl Gray, the last character. I think he's the character who has changed the most from the original to the remake. He's not a police contact in the remake. The remake changes his crime from drugs to military espionage, and it has a second blackmail tape, which is specifically just for Daryl. All those changes make it seem like he was going to be the remake's culprit. That would have been a better choice than Detective Beach. If Daryl's the culprit, the game would play out the exact same way until Nancy sees the tape. The tape for Daryl. The tape made specifically to blackmail Daryl. Daryl's tape. That tape. Nancy sees the tape, and she goes to Maxine's to confront Daryl. Daryl is flirty and used to charming his way out of trouble. He's taken aback when his sweet talk doesn't work on Nancy. Daryl confesses to his crime, but he denies being Jake's killer. He places the blame on the person who left the note for Nancy, who's here right now. He's in the bathroom. Yes, Maxine's has a bathroom. What restaurant doesn't have a bathroom? This ends up being a trick. Daryl tries to kill Nancy by throwing hamburgers at her. Only Joe Hardy shows up, and there's a challenge to eat all the hamburgers in midair before they touch the ground. Wait, that's silly. Daryl can do the death trap of pushing Nancy into a giant meat freezer. I'm pretty sure I've seen that death trap in multiple Nancy Drew books. Normally, she escapes by breaking open the door or reaching a high-up window. You solve the puzzle in time, and Daryl is arrested. Nancy probably has a cool one-liner like, "Order up," or, "Sorry, Daryl, looks like our date just got canceled." That's it for my culprit swap video. I'm sorry if this was way too long. Leave a comment if you have other ideas for who the culprit could be, or if you think there's something different I should be doing with this series.